We had Chapter 19, sporting goods, and licensed product. History. J.B. Say was a famous economic philosopher, and he came up with the idea of an entrepreneur. And George Tryon, he was a gunsmith who then became a wholesaler of sporting goods. Holrick and Bradsby, they both expanded a wood turning business into a bat making business. So they're the ones who really started making the wood bats and everything. Albert G. Spalding, a lot of people probably know Spalding from basketball, but he's also known for being a professional baseball pitcher and creating a sporting goods manufacturing. He based his manufacture on trying to sell to the middle class. And his company sold directly to retailers at a set price, and the retailers would sell that price at a price that he and the retailer agreed upon. He then created endorsements with the National League's help and focused on sporting goods production. The different brands that came about in the history of sporting goods were like Adidas. Adidas was actually the best brand. I would say, like how Nike is today, Adidas was the top one back in like the 1920s and everything. It was established by Adolf A.D. Dessler. A.D. I guess was his nickname, and that's how he came up with Adidas. He established the Adidas product by asking Jesse Owens to wear his spikes in the Summer Olympics, and his brother Rudolph was the one who founded Puma. They were working together at one point, but they got into an argument or whatever. So his brother went off and did his own thing with Puma, and he had a partnership with this FIFA soccer league. Nike then overturned Adidas in the 1980s and pulled in $269 million, replacing Adidas as the U.S. top sneaker maker, which is no surprise now because we all have Nikes on today. You have them, you have them, I have them. It lost its top spot to Reebok though at one point until Air Jordan and Bo Nose came about. So Michael Jordan's shoe collection actually helped Nike get back on top. And then by 1990, they were a $2 billion company. Licensing products. Licensing apparel is based on the notion that fans will purchase goods to draw them closer to the beloved organizations and athletes. So basically, these clothes were made so, I guess, to make fans feel like they're part of a team or whatever. Someone said that uniforms created a sense of apartness and defined who was a player and who wasn't. So the clothes that people buy in the store aren't necessarily the same as the ones that athletes have, so that they can verify who's who. The licensing programs in the pro leagues are administered by a for-profit branch of each league known as Properties Division. NFL has them, MLB has them, Soccer League has them, NBA has them, and they all came about at different times. Players associations also administer licensing programs, such as the Major League Baseball Players Association. They were the first to enter into this type of agreement. They made their own players association because they didn't want the league to have responsibility or take on their profits from the different clothing and everything that they were producing. And then the NFL players soon later developed their own association.
So in the industry format, there is the sporting goods. These include the equipment, the footwear, and sports apparel. The sporting goods equipment is like sport-specific products and fitness products. There's the athletic footwear. It's branded and unbranded and athletic shoes just for casual and active use. And then the apparel is just much broader and incorporates just garments designed to be used for active sports. In these sporting goods, in the association. There are a number of trade associations within the industry, like the SGMA, the Sporting Goods Manufacturers Association, and it serves more than 1,000 manufacturers. It represents over 3,000 business locations, employs more than 375,000 people, makes $60 billion nationally and $15 billion internationally. The licensing to it, there's the licensees that include companies like Nike and Adidas. Then there's the licensor who's like the team and leagues, and of course they get paid by the licensees to get manufactured products with their team names. The logos and names then become registered to be a trademark. The challenging issue, it's a challenge to create a brand. Most have been influenced by an individual who has been well known, but like Lining, you probably don't know about him, but he was a gold medalist gymnast in the Summer Olympics in 1984 who creates athletic footwear called Lining. The struggle for Lining is he can't compete against companies like Nike with his own customers in China, and now he's just like took over. So to achieve this, he needs to find these domestic just cities over in China that Nike hasn't taken over to start running his company. To be big, you must have an impact on all associations, even internationally. So it's been a struggle for him to get over here, like in the States, and be successful. There's multiple areas in the industry that are career path coming to. There's always needing like managers and sale reps, such as Russell and New Balance or anywhere. The segments that were included in the industry also need entrepreneurs with new ideas for our sporting products, and the skills that we need are endless, but the opportunities for the career are endless, and ideas are always evolving.
Okay, I'm Alexis, and I did recreational sport. And then the history, it started in the 19th century when leisure time emerged as a result of the industrialization and urbanization of U.S. society. Factories became more technologically advanced, which made work more monotonous for people who worked in factories, and it made the citizens look for more diversions outside of work. The recreation movement was created to address social issues that affected the population that had 66-hour work weeks, which was 6 days a week and 11 hours a day. And then the public attitude for leisure time changed from viewing work over play to viewing recreation as an important aspect in the growth and health of individuals and the improvement of the well-being of the community. And by the mid-century, many developments had helped expand and formalize recreational activities. The park movement was one of the first ones, and it was a reaction to the expansion and formalization of recreation, which established public lands like Central Park in New York and Emerald Necklace in Boston. Technology helped with the creation of new recreational activities such as biking. The price of sporting goods such as kayaks and canoes was modern enough so people of all social economic classes could afford them. And then the history and format. There were several establishments that were created to make more of an opportunity for members in the community to get involved in recreational sport, like the YMCA and the YWCA, along with the Young Men's and Young Women's Hebrew associations were organized in many local cities. The wilderness became more popular, creating an interest in outdoor activities and travel. Northeast wilderness camps became the most popular, such as Adirondack in New York. Only the most daring and willing would venture out to the uncivilized West to participate in outdoor travel. The National Park Service was created in 1916 by Theodore Roosevelt in hopes to preserve extraordinary geologic and cultural sites. The NPS, the National Park Service, recorded 276 million visits in 2008 with activities that generated nearly $12 billion in economic benefits to local communities. So the NPS helped out a lot with the economy. By the end of the 20th century, the recreational movement had created various formal organizations emphasizing recreational sport. The organizations were in the form of local clubs and associations that were dedicated to recreation and committed to developing standards for different activities, like the American Canoe Association and Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts. In the industry format, the recreation sport industry as a whole has expanded since it was first created in the 19th century. Several opportunities have been created for organizations and groups to format their own recreational sports department, and the industry has become very diverse, calling for people knowledgeable in multiple areas to work in the field. The current system of business requires multiple people to be included in the creation, management, and participation of recreation to keep it expanding. And then more in the industry format is that recreation is made up of several segments, some of which include community-based recreation, like YMCA, YWCA, where participants are united by similar interests in recreation at a local level. Public recreation, where it reaches to state and federal agencies like the National Forest Service and the U.S. Department of Agriculture. And outdoor recreation, which attracted those who were interested in outdoors and a natural environment. And the university outdoor recreation, which provided opportunities for students to get involved in different sports and activities while they're able to develop leadership and instructional skills while participating in several events. And some controversy with recreation is that the financing of recreation has been a big deal because many federal, state, and local governments have been cutting the funding for it. Public recreation directors and staff must figure out ways that they can gain more funding and more money to continue putting together activities for different communities. Several public recreation groups must compete for funding in an economic climate that was shadowed by the raising of the federal deficit, the emergence of tax reform initiatives, and constraints on local budgets. And then my career implications, I don't think the recreational sport will have much of an impact on my career path because I am majoring in broadcast journalism and there aren't many broadcast like media positions in recreational sport that would have an impact on what I want to do. But learning about recreational sport will help me out in the long run. And there's many positions in recreational sport like activity directors, camp directors, and counselors, different guides, leaders, directors, and just various other positions that include anything that has to do with sport and outdoor activities.
I'm John Balzerzak, and I got collegiate athletics. So to start off, we have the history. So the first intercollegiate athletic event was a crew race between Harvard and Yale in 1852. It was sponsored by a railroad company. The goal was for them to, like the race was not even close to any of the schools. They wanted them to ride the trains up there, so it was all business marketing thing. And then initial athletic contests during the 1800s, there was no coaches, it was all student run. So basically they had nothing, they just kind of did it for fun. And then football was like the biggest thing that got created in 1876. Well, the Intercollegiate Football Association formed in 1876, and obviously it was created for football. It established rules on eligibility and gameplay because before then you could kill people and just be okay, stuff like that. And then the Intercollegiate Conference faculty representatives, so later the Big Ten Conference, was created in 1895. And they did the same thing, but they made it a little more severe, so they actually enforced the rules and stuff like that. Because at one point, people were dying, and they were talking about not having football at all. And football was like the biggest sport and the biggest money maker. And so, Intercollegiate Athletic Association of the United States was created in 1905. It was formulated rules to make football safer and more exciting. In 1912, a group takes the name National Collegiate Athletic Association, or the NCAA. Increased commercialism and the potential for money gain in collegiate athletics led to increased pressures to win. And then the Knight Commission was created in 1989, and that was basically, before then, people were cheating, doing a bunch of illegal things, like recruiting-wise and giving out money and stuff. This was to restore the integrity of the game, so there could be more rules, stuff like that. Yeah. All right, so then there was women in sports too. So the first women's intercollegiate sport contest was basketball between Cal Berkeley and Stanford in 1896. They didn't really care about winning in women's basketball or any women's sports. They just wanted everyone to play and be involved. So basically, if you went to college and you were a woman, you had to play a sport. And like it was basically a physical education class that they called sports. In 1966 is when they fully created like the women's league, and then that was the intercollegiate athletics for women, and that was when they created rules and recruiting and all that kind of stuff again for that. And then in 1971, the Association for Intercollegiate Athletics for Women, they just took the name basically and took over that company. Well, the association. And this time they wanted it to be more focused on education, not just sports. And then the NCAA took over in 1981, and the main reason is because they offered more money. They said that they'd subsidize them for championships and like going away on road trips and stuff like that, so that ultimately everything was money driven. And then some more organizations. So it starts off with the NCAA, which is the National Collegiate Athletic Association. That's the primary rule-making body for college athletics in the United States. They have multiple divisions with different conferences. In order to have a conference, you have to have 6 members, and being in a conference provides many benefits, mostly financially. Then it creates a bigger program, which you want to win, so you have better. And then there's the NAIA, which is the National Association of Intercollegiate Athletics, which was founded in 1940 for smaller colleges and universities. So basically, if you're a smaller school, you want to be in that league, because it creates more competitiveness. That's what the point of divisions are, is Division I's focused on winning and making money. Division II is a little less, still winning, but more education. And then Division III does not give scholarships at all, and they're more, you play for fun and you want to go to school. And then there's the National Junior Collegiate or College Athletic Association, which is junior college, like community schools, founded in 1937 to supervise and promote national program. This is like how the committees in the NCAA are set up. So like it starts off with the highest and then works your way down to smaller and smaller committees. Like they do the main rules, then these people institute it into their divisions, and these people make sure that everything's set, and then these people enforce the rules. So it's a pretty simple concept. Okay, so the NCAA, for the industry format, the NCAA, under the NCAA, member schools oversee legislation regarding the conduct of intercollegiate athletics. NCAA national offices enforce the rules of the membership passes. It organized into departments. 2 of the most prominent areas are the legislation and governance and the academics. Enforcement area was created in 1952. That's where they started to try and stop, or like have recruiting. Like they gave out a limited number of scholarships. You weren't allowed to pay players to come to your school. Tried to make it a little more fair for people everywhere. And then they have a ton of different committees, like I just showed you on the last slide, that oversee different things. So an athletic director is more like a CEO of a business. They usually don't have anything to do with sports. They just kind of handle the budgeting, hiring coaches, sports marketing, and fundraising. They're all part of that. And then they also negotiate bonus clauses in their contract based on their performance. So they're kind of doing stuff for themselves too. You basically, in order to be an athletic director nowadays, you either have to have been a coach or have a major in business or something like that. And then other areas are assistant athletic director, so they act as the business manager or media relations director. And then student athlete services addresses the academic concerns and welfare of student athletes. And senior women's administrator and faculty athletics representatives, so they just oversee all the women's sports, so they're like the athletic director of women's sports. And then challenging issues. Title IX, or gender equality, is one of the main issues still going on today. So it's a law, federal law passed in 1972 that prohibits sex discrimination, so everything has to be equal and fair. And the rule began to enforce in 1988 by the Civil Rights Restoration Act. And most of the issues that come from it are sports that women can't compete in, like wrestling or something like that. Their sports are getting cut because in order to make it fair, and it's all, so people file lawsuits and fail every single time, so it still continues today. And then, so for my career implications on this, there's many things you can do into, but I plan on going into sports law, so in sports law I could be doing a number of things, including contract negotiations over a number of things. Colleges need to have lawyers, as does the NCAA, to represent them on issues. And as a whole, intercollegiate